Hey, if you've had the privilege of monetizing your land, whether it's glamping or an ADU or some sort of service-based industry on your property, and you're making money, it feels great until it doesn't. Sometimes that excitement fades. Look, it feels amazing to make money off your property, turning dirt into dollars. But a year or two in, something shifts. You're thrilled about making real money, but suddenly you become exhausted, overwhelmed. And if this is you, then you've hit what I call the stabilization problem. And in this video, I'm going to show you how to solve it. Now, a quick footnote here. This is coming from something I learned from a book that I read a couple of months ago called The Science of Scaling by Benjamin Hardy. Highly recommend the book because honestly, I was into scaling, but I was not on track to scale. This was me a year ago. I was unstable. If you know my story, I'd been running Monument Glamping for about 5 years. My first summer, I made $2,400 on my tent in my backyard. And 5 years later, I was making $250,000. That's 100 times jump. If you'd asked me back then what life would have been like if I was making $250,000 a year, I would have pictured freedom and confidence and growth. Instead, when I got there, I felt poor, unorganized, embarrassed. And if I grew any bigger, I would have fallen apart. And honestly, that's where a lot of entrepreneurial-minded people end up. And sometimes they quit. They kind of hit a ceiling where everything's working, but their life is chaotic. You know, marriages get stressful, property gets sold, people bow out and get out of a disorganized mess. Now, before I read The Science of Scaling, it was my son who planted this seed in me. And it isn't funny. Sometimes as parents, we think we're the ones always doing the teaching. But when our kids grow up, every once in a while, they can teach us a few things. And he told me, "Dad, your business isn't broken, it's unstable." And he was right. The problem wasn't growth. It was instability. That's when I started the process that I call now stabilization. It's 4 exercises that have to happen in this order. And if you skip the order that I'm about to teach you right now, you'll stay stuck. Step 1, finances. Now, another book I read, because I like to read business books, he actually encouraged me to stay financially unstable. I won't point out what author that was, but it didn't help. I ended up opening a whole bunch of bank accounts and just watching balances. And within 6 months, my finances were even more of a mess. Instead, I had to mentally get in my mind that I needed to make my finances really work. Bookkeeping isn't rocket science, for crying out loud, but I don't like it. Actually, I hate it. But disliking it doesn't absolve me from the responsibility of having my books in order. I had to grow up and get serious about it. Today, I open QuickBooks every single day. And I open my bank accounts and I start managing my money. I categorize all of my expenses. I've got it in control. I make sure every dollar that I spent the day before is accounted for. Now, are my books stable? Yes, they are. And when they're not, I stop everything until they are. That was a commitment I made a year ago, and today I know exactly where every penny is. So that's step 1, finances. Step 2 is operations. Once I had my numbers straight, I could finally tackle how we worked. We went all in on operations. We even remodeled my entire house. We looked at our kitchen and redesigned it ergonomically so that every dish, utensil, and supply was in place to better serve our glamping guests. Our basement, where most of our day-to-day operations run, was totally reimagined with operations in mind. We started killing clutter like there were rodents or insects infecting our house. We attacked it like little demons. Clutter this, find a process, find an organization way. We started investing some of our money because now I had money because I knew where my money was. We started investing in things like tubs and shelves and organizational systems that made operations run much more smoothly. The payoff was huge. Every time we fine-tuned something, efficiency jumped. Our systems kept dialing in tighter and tighter until we realized, wow, we've become a pretty slick-oiled machine. We used to dream about being a slick-oiled machine, but before we were just a chaotic mess, just handling task by task as they came up and not really dialed into a smooth operation. That's what operational stability looks like, my friends. Order brings peace. Chaos kills growth. Now, step 3 is marketing. People think I'm a marketing guy. I'm really not. I used to hate it. Facebook ads, Google campaigns, posting content. Ugh. But that was because finances and operations were in disorder. They were not stabilized. So why invite guests to come to a disorganized mess? Once the business was clean and organized, I wanted to bring more people in. Marketing became energizing rather than exhausting. I kind of became a student again of marketing. I started learning from people, all like Benjamin Hardy that I already mentioned, but like Donald Miller and Alex Hormozy, Grant Cardone, a handful of others who understood how to build and tell a story. I started reading their books, listening to their podcasts, and applying what I learned. And the biggest realization, I needed to tell the Monument Glamping story. What we offer, why we exist, and how we serve our guests. Now, do I have everything figured out? Not even close. In fact, I just hired a marketing manager to help me tighten things up and keep improving. Here's the difference now. It's stable. People are responding. They're finding us through Google, reaching out through Facebook, and booking at higher prices because our marketing speaks directly to their needs. That's the power of having your marketing in line and stabilized. Number 4, expansion. This is where everyone wants to start, right? But it's the last step for a reason. Yes, as a business owner, you'll bounce between all 4 steps. You'll go to work on finances, you'll work on something on operations, you'll go back to finances, you're going to be bouncing back and forth. But they build on one another. If the finances aren't stable, forget the rest. Don't worry about your operations, marketing, or expansion until you've cleaned up your books. It doesn't have to be perfect. You won't ever be done, but it has to be stable. Once your finances are stable, then focus on operations. If operations aren't in order, it doesn't matter how flashy your ideas are or your new ideas for new builds. You'll just be scaling chaos. Now, a year ago, I ignored that order. I was obsessed with expansion. My books were a mess. My operations were chaotic. My marketing was a complete mystery. Expansion sounded easier, like it was going to solve my problems. And we got it permitted for 24 more units. And I'm so glad we didn't start building 24 more units yet. Actually, I'm permitted for 36 units. You know how many I have operating on my land right now? 8. And that's generating $250,000 a year. That's exactly where I need to be right now. And now we're moving into expansion, filling out those 36 units, and I should be well over $1 million once this all works out. Expansion finally makes sense. Why? Finances, operations, marketing is in place. And that's the lesson here, my friends. Grow in that order. Stability before speed. Systems before scale. When you do, expansion isn't scary anymore. It's rather exciting. Now, do you identify with this journey? Maybe you're in the same place, you're making money, but something's feeling off balance. That's the kind of discussion we have every week in Your Land is Gold. It's my school community where we dig into what it really takes to run a business on a piece of property. Something that's stable, scalable, and really quite satisfying. So if this story resonates with you, the best way to connect is simple. Go to school.com/gold and find out more about my online community that you could join. You can also stay connected by just liking and subscribing, maybe even comment below. I love to hear from you. I get way more viewers than I do commenters. And honestly, I'm kind of disappointed in it because the conversation is really where the gold is. Tell me, where are you on your stabilization journey? Are you cleaning up your finances, organizing your shelves and your operations and dialing into your marketing? I read every comment myself, and I love to engage with other landowners. That's what I love to do, is help other landowners build revenue-generating operations on their property. I really just love helping others turn their land into gold. See you next time.